Hello everyone, welcome back to JDCodebase. In today's video, we are going to understand one of the most important concepts in React, that is the context API and state sharing. If you are learning React and you will feel confused about prop drilling, don't worry about that. Today I will explain everything step by step in a very simple way. And by the end of this video, you will clearly understand what is context API, why we need it, how create context work, and what provider does, and how to use context properly. And we will also write the code in the VS Code and understand each line. So let's start. So today topic is the context API and state sharing. We are going to learn create context, provider, and use context. So these three things together solve a very common problem in React. Now, why state sharing is needed? Before learning context API, first we need to understand the problem. And imagine we have a component like app component, the main one, navbar. In navbar we have profile and avatar, the profile pic like that. So now suppose we have a user value in the app component. And what do we normally do? We pass it like this: app pass to the navbar passes to the profile passes to avatar. So this is called prop drilling. Now think if the project becomes big and then there are many components, passing data again and again become messy in that case. So it becomes hard to maintain. So this is exactly why context API exists. Now, what is context API? Context API is built-in feature of React. It allows us to share data globally, and that means we do not have to pass the props manually at every level. And we can directly access the data in any component. And common use case for this is like authentication, dark and light theme, language setting, and global user data. So now let's understand how it works, how context API works. So context API works in three simple steps. First, we have to build a create context, then provide the context, then consume the context. In a very simple flow, if we say context, provider, any component. Now let's understand each step by step. First one is the create context. So here first step is the create context. It create a global container for our data, means this is our React app. So by using the create context, it makes a container of data, means global data. So let's move to the VS Code and write the code here. So first make a new file that says user context.js. Basically this is the our React project and basic React project. Now import create context from the React, and now let's then we create a context using the create context. For that, const user context is equal to create context and this. So this create a context object, means this user context is an object, and we can access the property by using the dot. And this object has a provider inside it, means user context dot provider, that we use in the couple of moment. So we export it so we can use it in other files. So export const user context. So now let's use into the app.jsx file. So here the create context does not store data by itself. This is just for this is just create a container for the user data. Data will be given by the provider inside this user context. So what is provider? Now you may think I am saying provider again and again. Now what is provider? Provider is a component. It wraps other component and it supplies the value to all the children inside it, and this is where actually data is passed. And so let's implement this inside the app.jsx file. let write here. First we have to import this user context, import user context from the user context file. And now let's use here, remove this and write here user context in the angular bracket, user context, and inside this just give a, let me make a component that says profile dot gsx RFC, and here I'm importing this profile component, a normal one. Now inside this we have a provider dot provider. Okay, this semicolon comes by. Yes, now it's actually the here is semicolon comes by default. So here we import the user context from this file, user context file, user context.js file, and inside the app first let's create a variable const user equal to JDCodebase, a normal variable. And now we wrap our profile with the user context dot provider and pass the user here value equal to user. So we pass the value here user to the this profile, means every component here, profile component, navbar component, every component has the access of this value, this user value. Now whatever value we pass here becomes available to all components inside this provider, and this is like a global pipe. Now let's consume this value in the profile.js. So for that we have to use the useContext. This is a hook. It allows us to access the context value inside the functional component. So let's move to the profile.jsx file, and here let const user equal to first we have to use the context, import from the React and use the user context, and here say hello, say hello user. So here we import the use context from the React, and we import the user context from the user context file that's I built here, and we call the use context this one, use this context, user context, and it returns the value passed in the provider. This return the value, this one, this value. And here important thing is that use context take the context object, means you can give many object, like means like here I have user context. If you have theme context, you can write one more, const theme is equal to const theme equal to use context, and here write theme context if any exists, means I am not building right now, just give an example, I'm giving you example. So then it looks up the nearest provider for this and it gives the value here. No props needed here, means I'm not pass any prop, any parameter. So this is how we avoid the prop building. And if you see here, hello JDCodebase, this value come here. If I change any value, I get. So let's see one more, profile one dot gsx RAFCE, and here also I can use this const user equal to use context, which one, user context. Now here you can say hello from profile one user. So now let's import here profile one and close this. So if you see hello from profile one JDCodebase, means I have to just write one time and you access them in any component in the global data. So here is the create context, create the container inside this create context, create the container for this complete data. And here in the app.jsx we have to write provider. Provider gives the value, means you can give any function, you can give any value, whatever you want to give. Just write here user or any function name, and use context in the component, use the use context keyword, and inside that give the context. So this is a complete life cycle, means cycle of this. So you can imagine, instead of user, if we pass the theme, if value is dark, entire app can be accessed. If this is very useful in the admin dashboard, e-commerce project, and large MERN of application. Like now let's move to the this is the theme example I already give you. Now when not to use the context API. Context API is very powerful, but do not use it everywhere. If state changes very frequently, it can cause the performance issue, and if logic is very complex, it becomes hard to manage. Now there are some alternative for that: Redux, Justin, and Recoil. So for very large application, these are the better option, and not for the smaller. For small the project, you can use the context API, but not for the very small project you can use it. Now context API versus the Redux. Context API is the built-in in the React it is built by the Meta, and Redux is an external library. We have to install it using the npm. And context API is the simple and good for the small to medium apps. Redux is the very powerful and better for the complex state management. Now let's see some important tips, some best practices. Always create the separate context file. Like here I create the user context, theme context you can create. Now keep the provider clean, and do not create too many nested providers. And for better state control, combine the context with the use reducer. So use the reducer help to manage the complex logic inside the context. So today we learn create context, create the global context means container, provider supply the data, use context, consume the data. So these are the three main pillars of this video actually. And also, and we solve the prop drilling problem here also by using the use context. And so if you understand context API properly, if you are a beginner, I recommend you practice this by creating a theme switcher application. And in the next video, I'm also next video is also based on the theme switcher project or a login user context that will make your understanding strong. If this video helped you, make sure to like the video, subscribe to JDCodebase. In the next video, we will go deeper into the advanced state management like Redux. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.